What is up, ladies and gentlemen? It is your friendly neighborhood BJJ podcaster, RAF ESPARZA, coming to you with another great installment of the Bullpen. How was your day? I am vaguely recovered from Vegas, part 1 of 6. Technically, it's 2 of 7, but who's counting? I guess what I'm saying is, I didn't get hit by anything while on the road. That's always a major concern. I pay very, very close attention to when Way says there's an object on the road, because last year I hit something in the last 30 seconds that just flew out of nowhere and I had to get my car repaired. And unfortunately, the PGF does not necessarily reimburse yet for that travel. Anyway, I guess what I'm saying is no harm, no foul. I'm here. But I'm very excited to bring my longtime friend, Tim Freeman, who, by all accounts and everything I've heard, is also as safe. Tim, how are you doing today, sir?
I'm doing great, man. Listen, you gotta be careful making that drive from LA to Vegas and back. It's a famous drive. We know that the boys did it in Swingers. We know that Hunter S. Thompson did it, wrote a great book about it. We ought to reenact that someday. Me and you ought to take that trip. We'll get a little red sports car and make that shot, man. That would be fantastic. Dude, I'm doing great. What a great night we had on Wednesday night with the PGF. We got a lot of great things ahead of us this week in jiu-jitsu. Stoked to be back, my man.
It's good to see you too, Tim. And what I can tell you about that is I just didn't expect it. Not that I wasn't paying attention or anything like that. It was more so that as I was driving, there was a car in front of me that swerved out like, oh shit, there's something on the road. And I was like, why? So, you know, I really appreciated that person, because it's not like you see something on the road, you're like, oh, I can't wait to hit that. And yeah, that was a lot of fun. My favorite thing was that I had thought I would have to get like a new bumper or something, and it basically took out, I guess, the gasket case or whatever, the little compartment that holds it all together, and we just got a new one of those, and we were good. A wheel protector or whatever they call those things. And God, I feel so useless when that stuff happens, because anything happens to your car, you're just standing there being like, yep, looks like one of those, right? I knew that too. Oil. Problem. Doesn't look good. Let's fix it. So I lucked out in that way. I know we're going to preview it later, Tim, but do you have any idea what it's like to see the following phrases, RAF and giant brawl, be put in the same sentence and think like, did I get too drunk last week?
Yeah, you know, I don't know what that's like, but I wish I did, to be honest with you. I think that would be kind of cool. That brawl was off the hook, and I don't want to give too much away, but holy jeez, man, that was wild. That was longer and more intense than any of the fights we've had. It's
also very funny to see that taking place in an organization that, you know, they have lawyers. Like, we had a brawl once go out at Subversive, and I just thought, like, please don't do this to us. We don't have, like, Fox money. What are you guys doing here? And when I saw that it happened on a show that's broadcasted by Fox, I was like, oh, they're fine. And then the next day they put out this statement that's like, we condone that action, but catch the rematch on RAF 7. So we'll get to that here in a moment. Tim, we do have to speed through some of this stuff, and there is a bulk of stuff that we need to talk about that is PGF related. So why don't we start the board off at the very top of the charts, which is that this week was the very first week of action at the PGF, and there is a lot to recap. But Tim, I wanted to start off with first impressions. What are the first things that kind of struck out to you in the very first week of competition here at the PGF?
You know, I felt like this in season 9, there's a lot more familiarity with the fans and the athletes and people coming into it. We see there's multiple athletes that are returning. They know what to expect. They're more comfortable. And you could pick that up when you're watching from home, even from the commentary team. And I know TJ and Brandon and Jason, those guys are pros. They've been doing it a long time. TJ and Brandon got a lot of reps in together for sure, but everything felt a little more settled and at home from my perspective when I was watching it. So I did think that was pretty darn cool to see. Just like there's a little level of maturity, it's like a little bump up in the game that was nice to watch.
From that thought, I want to go into the second kind of consideration that we need to have here, which is for both of us, Tim, I was watching this pretty intently in terms of how we thought everything would play out and how we saw things playing out. And you and I made some predictions, and hey, guys, who knew we'd be so on the money all around? Oh, wait, we do. I think it's very funny to people when they forget that we get things usually fairly right here. Like, we're having fun, but we aren't people who are unfamiliar with what goes on. So I was very proud of the Lock of the Block segment. I think we will do that again next week. But Tim, how did it feel to be right on some of those calls where it did seem like you were sticking your neck out there?
Yeah, I mean, it felt damn good to be right. That's how it felt. To be honest with you, I was like, that's right, I said that. I'm yelling at my wife and kids, get over here. I want you to watch what just happened. Look, I got to be honest. The Kevin Buring matchup against Derek Rodman Rayfield, I like both those guys a lot, but I knew that Kevin Buring was going to take that match. I had a feeling deep in my heart, Raf, that I was like, I'm going to stick my neck out for this call. And I feel like that one was the one that really redeemed me from all the other false information I've given out on this show. And there's been a lot of it. There's been a hefty dose. That one was the one where, like, okay, this guy, okay, sometimes he's on his game. So, yeah, it felt good. Great matchups, though. Great sub by Kevin Buring, by the way. Wow. Fantastic stuff.
It was impressive, and I do have to say I got some great bragging points because I don't remember who it was last season, but we were talking, and one of the teams, they were joking because they were like, well, we're going to joke about you guys. We're going to roast you guys. And they were like, yeah, a couple of the guys were saying, like, Raf doesn't know stuff. He doesn't get things right. And I'm like, was it against them? Because I was just like, what didn't I get right? And then I started thinking about it, and I was like, maybe I just didn't think they were going to get 10 points, and they got, 8. Or something to that effect. Or, I don't know. But I go, athletes can be very weird about this stuff. So we do try to have a sensibility of sensitivity, but this is, again, a TV show. What I want to do right now, though, Tim, is I want to take you to the secondary board, and I want to go just through some results that they have put up. And I feel like this is going to tell us part of the story of the PGF thus far in. So if we go to our fancy thing here, check this out. This is your official standings right now. From just the look of it, just from a points perspective, Tim, what can you tell us about this board?
This is a little bit part and parcel of the PGF distribution of points. You'll notice in seasons, you'll have a few teams clustered at the top for a couple of weeks until one manages to pull away potentially. And then there's usually another one that's kind of struggling at the bottom. Last year, I believe that was the Tropic Thunders last year, if I'm not mistaken, or last season. We saw the Wolverines. They struggled. That happened. That was their first season match ever in their history. So, it wasn't maybe as smooth as they wanted. But yeah, what it tells me is it's still anybody's game. The Kings are still phenomenal. They looked great. I completely underestimated Austin Orenday. He looked fantastic. I got to give him his props on that. He had a great night. And with him in that lineup, they're going to be hard to catch, but the Phenoms and Twisters, they're stacked, and not all of the Twisters athletes scored big points. I think there's still potential to put up big points for the other two teams.
Well, just in case you were wondering if the AI egg agent was going to come in and chime in. It's just already at the bottom here, so I feel like we should just read that. It just says, it's not about where you start, it's about where you finish. Wolverines! So I feel like it's good that that's part of that official standings. It should be noted, though, that there's only 2 little stars over to the side on the Kings and the Phenoms on the far right of the top of their scores. It's kind of like saying, like, Twisters, no star for you. Wolverines, no star for you. So I can't tell if that's just part of the design, but we ask the tough questions here, Tim.
Yeah. Grok doesn't like you. I don't know what to tell you.
It does not like you. But if I slide this over, now we get a sense of who has been scoring. And it's no surprise that in your first week of competition, Jet Thompson asserts himself at the top of the list. Very interestingly, though, Sean Melanson is also at the top of that list with 10 points. Now, I think he figured out a very big component, which is, hey man, if you can start getting some of these chokes early on, even if it's 1 per week, you can make a huge impact on how you're going about your business. So even a break and a kill come together quite nicely. Austin looking very nice. Jared doing good numbers. Very nice. And the weird part about this is Austin, Jared, I can't remember for sure. I don't know if Jake got beaten that way. But like Noah, Andrew, all took submission losses, but I think they kept their head in the game in a smart way, because it's very easy to get discouraged when you feel the level of competition, and especially on week 1. The nerves are there. Not everything feels the way you're used to competing because you got to do it 3 times that night. But I think it was a testament to, okay, they kept their head on straight and they were able to get some points. Also exemplifying that, Travis Haven, Brett Moyer. It was kind of the first elements of, this is definitely a marathon. Stay the course. Make sure to get your points where you can. So I had a lot of respect for those young men. And if you're doing jiu-jitsu math, and I suggest you don't always do that, there was a lot of interesting, like, dilemmas between Travis and Austin. Then you've got Travis, and I wanted to say it was Jaden. And so you get like all these pairings of these guys who are all qualifier winners. And there wasn't necessarily one person dominating out of that yet. So in terms of who can be your top 8, all over the place. Because look how it is. Right now between 12 and 14, they all have 3 points. So if they got another kill, they would essentially be tied for those top 8 positions. Just keep that in mind as we go on. But one thing I want to point out between this and this is the fact that the Kings look like a very dominant team. Everybody is performing incredibly well on that team, and that is a very worrying sign. So if you are on a different team, you are looking to try and take out one of their members or neutralize them as best that you can. And when their stopper, that I dubbed, coming in at $1,000, being a steal in that Chewy, he became a crowd favorite that night. Huge ovation, perhaps the biggest moment of the night in terms of yelling and capacity between him and Sam. And Sam is not easy to submit, and Chewy found a way to do that. So I just want to point this out. If you are any other team other than the Kings, you need to come with a very, very concerned strategy on how to neutralize their weapons, because we saw Jet Thompson looking very good, Austin looking very solid, Jared looking very solid as well, and then Cam Hurd emerging as just a showcase reel into himself, who also got points on the board and was putting up 2 of the best matches of the night. So just some initial thoughts from all of this, Tim. But what I would like to do now is I want to return back to the board, and I want to switch focus here while we've got you to go over a little bit of what happened at RAF 6. So we're talking about a very dramatic RAF 6. Tim, what the hell took place in Arizona that made everybody clear the sidelines and go straight to rushing on the mats to hit somebody on those mats?
Yeah. It's crazy when a fight breaks out in a combat sport. You know what I mean? Because like you're kind of already fighting. And then it's like, no, we're going to do a format switch and I'm going to try to hit you in the face. So RAF 6 was, I believe, at the Mullet Arena in Arizona, which I think is a fantastic name. I say that every time I say it. It featured Henry Cejudo and Uriah Faber. Cejudo had a big win over Faber. Not a surprise. Faber's a great athlete in his own right, but it's when you go up against a guy that has competed at the highest level in his sport, and if you haven't kind of been to that stage, when you're in his home territory like that, you're going to have a real hard time catching the win. On top of that, there was a very, very big matchup against Arman Sarukian and Giorgio. I think it's Paulus, how you say his last name. And they even had bet offers to go like $1,000 per takedown between themselves. There was a lot of head slapping. Apparently, the collar tie game is gotten worse. It's just literally turned into slapping from time to time when these guys are upset. It's not that they don't know how to use a collar tie. It's that they wish to strike their opponent and they're trying to get away with it within the rule set. There was the ref was like, hey, you got to back off. Hey, you got to back off. And then it went wild after the match ended. It looked like Sarukian was going to be chill, and he had no chill in his game. Went right at him through strikes, and then it was on like Donkey Kong after that. And that was a wild fight, man. On top of that, though, I thought they had some good matches on the card. Aljamain Sterling defeated Benson Henderson with a technical fall. David Carr beat Bubba Jenkins. There was another match on there. Zahid Valencia, who's a fantastic wrestler, came out and won again against Muhammad Fauzi. The thing that they're doing really well is they are mixing in, really high-level wrestlers. Like on this card, you'll have an Olympian champion wrestler. You'll have a UFC champion that's wrestling. And then you'll have a guy who's an Instagram influencer who's wrestling on the same card. And it's all entertaining. And I think what RAF is showing people is if the matchups are right, it doesn't really matter 100%. Like this guy's way better than this guy. It's the matchup. That's what we want to see. Like, is this going to be compelling? Overall, I thought they had a great night of wrestling, and they're cranking these out, man. The number 7 is going to be coming up real soon here. So it's a lot of fun to watch.
So, Tim, I thought I would kind of go a little out of order here, and I'm actually going to take us to the actual brawl because I feel like this is our fight of the week. Spoiler. And what I want to do here for people is I want to give people a chance to hear both of our analysis on this, but let's look at just kind of the melee that happened here, Tim.
Fighting again, 10 seconds.
Go ahead and walk us through your interpretation of how this is ending now, Tim.
So here we go. We got Sarukian. Defended the takedown, and then immediately he went into throwing blows. Strikes. Referee tries to get involved. And then suddenly there's a bunch of guys in khakis and cut-off T-shirts.
Bronstein having to get involved here, folks.
At the same time. My favorite part
security
is
get this taken
there's
care
a
of.
dude, people are just, at this
Emotions
point, that
boiling
guy, the
over
long-haired
here
guy right
at
there in all
RAF.
white, he didn't need to get on the stage. He came up to the stage way at the end. He stays on the stage. Everywhere there's action, you'll just see his back. I'm like, who let Eddie Van? I didn't know Eddie Van Halen came back to this event. So, overall, man, the melee was fantastic, and you could see this guy here in the white sweats and kind of like the sweater jacket. Blonde lady's gonna push dude off stage. He gets into it later, like right when you think the whole fight's over. Raf, cooler heads are prevailing. They're pushing it off the stage. Like, okay, we're going to be calm. Here we go. Now watch this guy. He's chatting. And then here comes Bubba coming down the stairs with a hat on. He's following him. And the next thing you know, Bubba's throwing. Here they go. They're going, man. And it breaks. And there's long hair guy with the white pants and the white shirt. It's like, I love this guy. I want to bring him with me. He's an ultimate hype man when it comes to fights. It was wild. It's almost too much to figure out. We could spend a whole show breaking this down, actually pulling the nuggets out.
So, Tim, what I'm going to do is when you're gone in a little bit, I'm going to re-break this down. So if you missed the 3:35 airing of this match, fight, brawl, whatever you want to call it, you can catch the 3:45 airing of it in just a little bit. We kind of do the Disneyland multiple shows per the hour as per Walt Disney's teachings. But I felt like that was a good thing to show. And it says... we have a hat rep. Was there a glasses rep as well? Unclear.
Yo, egg.
But
I'm sure there was a glasses rep in there somewhere.
If you look closely, I'm sure there's definitely a glasses wearing gentleman. We just have to look close enough. Let's move back to the board here, and we're going to now advance to UFC BJJ, and we will come back to talk a little bit more about RAF in just a second. But for right now, Tim, what can you tell us about the upcoming UFC BJJ? I believe it happens next Thursday. So what do you have in terms of intel, and what can we expect from that big afternoon/evening?
Let's see. We got, I think this is UFC BJJ 6, and this is featuring Mason Fowler versus Machado, I believe. Pedro Machado. Yeah, that's the 205 championship fight. It also features another, which I think is probably the marquee fight. No shade on Mason. I love Mason. He's a great dude to watch. And that is Fiona Davies making her UFC BJJ debut, going up against Cassia Murra. So, and Cassia, is already 2-0 inside. They call it the Bowl inside the UFC BJJ Bowl. So it'll be interesting to see this. Obviously, I think Davies is, considered like the premier female jiu-jitsu athlete, in my opinion, right? She brings a lot of attention and a lot of heat. So it'll be interesting to see what she does with this opportunity and where that goes. We also have some other big names on the card. We got the return of Nicky Rod. We haven't seen him, I think, since 2024. And he'll be going up against Elder Cruz. I think Nicky Rod definitely is going to come in hot with an advantage. I'm not sure how active he's been. He likes to post a lot of shirtless pictures. He looks in shape. I don't know how old these pictures are, though. But so I think that'll be an interesting play to see. And what I'm looking forward to, and I know you are too, Raf, anytime Nicky Rod competes, a certain someone named Gordon Ryan starts showing up a lot online, making disparaging posts and comments. And then a certain someone named Craig Jones follows after Gordon Ryan. So we got probably a dozen board topics waiting for us after this happens. So kind of stoked about that. We got the return of Jasmine Rocha against Anna Rodriguez. And I believe Anna has 2 wins over Rocha already outside of the organization. I would look for Rocha to try to get one of those wins back. Obviously, the Rocha family, big on competition. Be good to see them back. And then the real OG that we have not really seen a lot at all. And if you're into grappling, you've been doing it for a while, you'll know who Zhao Miao is. We really haven't seen Zhao Miao on a major promotional card. So this is, UFC BJJ is going to have a lot of eyeballs on it. And he's going up against Formiga. And Formiga, I think this will be a great matchup. Look, Formiga's great. Zhao Miao is world class, and I expect that out of him nonetheless when he shows up at UFC BJJ. So overall, I think it's a good card, and I think the UFC is doing a smart thing with the consistency. They're constantly getting back out. It's like, oh man, there's another one. Oh man, there's another one. Oh man, there's another one. That pace is going to be hard for other organizations to keep up with. Looks good so far, man.
Very good. And I want to bring this up. I'll talk a little bit more about it once Tim has to leave here. Spoiler, he has to get out here in about 10 minutes or so. But I will preview this that I will talk with you guys about individually, which is that they talked a little bit about the pay structure. So Claudia has mentioned how certain people make certain amounts of money. And I know you're seeing some passionate debate in the comment section. What's most interesting is Raquel, Andy Varela, and Mikey have been the most active members telling you like, no, it's great. But they did mention that only 10 people are paid at the top tier status. So I think they might be those. I would tell you that is good authority that you're learning from, but I don't think that works for every single person. So I think that they have heard some of that, and some of this might be a PR response. It might be part of their long-term UFC BJJ plan. But I just say, of course they're going to defend things. It's great that they can give the information, but of course they're going to be the people that go, I think it's great. Anybody have any problems? And we've seen how that's gone in MMA when the top tier stars don't hold their ground for the bottom tier to only be paid 5 and 5 to show up. But don't worry, the Paramount deal, things are going up. Wink for other people.
I agree with you, man. And Godella went to Instagram and put some posts of her working at McDonald's, like she's trying to make ends meet with everything. And to me, I'm like, dude, I was just offended just looking at it. I'm like, damn, man, that's like, you're trying to make a joke about somebody working at Mickey D's. Like, I get it. I'll make a joke about somebody getting their lights knocked out at Mickey D's, fighting in the number 2 parking spot to get their pickup order. But
Tim, it just begs the question, did she run that by anybody? And if they did, who are those people telling her like, yeah, it seems like a good idea? Or somebody made the meme and it's like, man, just show you're working hard. And some of you were stupid enough to vote for people who showed up at a McDonald's during a political campaign season. So I know it kind of works, but it doesn't mean you get paid anymore. And shitty fucking content. So is what it is. Let's move to this topic right now, and I'll come back to UFC BJJ once Tim is gone. Tim, I wanted to get your thoughts on this because it seemed like there was some discussion that happened online. You're a gym owner. I think you're an ideal person to ask about this. Do you feel any responsibility to charging for an open mat? There is some discussion that I saw happening, and it was kind of catching fire, where people would tell you like, I don't do open mats anymore, and here's why. Or I think it's stupid that people should expect that an open mat be free. Why does anything ever have to be free? So what are your thoughts as a gym owner and a longtime jiu-jitsu practitioner?
You know, that's an interesting question. And the thing I think that people forget is that the open mat kind of hospitality, you can come and train for free on this potential day, usually a Saturday or Sunday, maybe a Friday night. I was kind of like a jiu-jitsu community thing, especially when the world was community is a little bit smaller, right? And I like it. I have a free open mat on Sundays. Everybody's welcome to come. And it's great. Now, having said that, you do get dudes who want to only come to open mat, right? They're not students anywhere. They get their training in at open mat. And, I don't have a problem with that, but sometimes I do a little bit because it feels a little disingenuous, but I do get it. Like, hey, maybe you can't afford to train. This is the only time you can come. So it doesn't bother me too much. But on the same side, dude, there's some open mats that get 100 people in them. Like they're packed. It really does cost the facility some money to have all these dudes in there, all these people. Now, maybe they're selling waters and selling gear, selling candy bars. I don't know. They might make some little money on it on the side, but I'm not charging for it, but I wouldn't hate on somebody for charging for it. The other thing I see, which I'm not a huge fan of, to be honest, is our school only open mat. Like we have open mat, but you got to be part of the school to come. If you're from the outside, you can't come. I don't particularly like that. I think open mat is one of those really cool opportunities to train with people that you don't normally get to train with. And as long as everybody is respectful and nice and chill, it works out well. As long as you come to, like, if you're a visitor at an open mat, your attitude should not be, I'm going to go in there and muff everybody up. I'm not tapping. I'm going to rock this guy. I'm going to tap that guy. If that's your attitude, you shouldn't go to open mat, because you're the guy that the gym owner doesn't want coming to his gym, because you're going to end up breaking somebody off. They're going to be out for 6 months and you're going to be bragging about it to your dumb friends. That's a bad idea, right? Those are the people that get open mat taken away. So if you go to open mat, it's not your home gym, be chill. I don't care. I'll drop in somewhere else if I'm out of town, and if some blue belt has me in a bad spot, I don't gork out. Hey man, tap, good job, dude. How long have you been training? 2 years? Oh, nice, dude. Let's go again. Who cares? Like, don't take it so seriously. But overall, Raf, I like open mat being free. I'm an old school, jiu-jitsu minded now. I didn't even come up in the old school, but it feels old school now if you started back then. Charging is a little boo-boo, but I guess I kind of get it, but
That's fine. Thank you for that, Tim. Can I just say my thought on this? Okay. If you are a gym owner, you are at pretty much your will to do whatever you want in terms of charging or not charging for an open mat. That's on you. Closing it off as an open mat to only your gym might actually be limiting your students from getting very pivotal cross training. And it begs the question, are you somebody who's okay with them going to cross train somewhere else? Because if you are, then cool, it puts the onus on them. But maybe as an instructor, you're allowing them to go cross train not under your guidance. It's kind of like the parent that says you can drink here as long as I can see you. Well, you'll have more eyes on it there. If you let them go out and they're getting worked, maybe because they're not used to training with other people other than their training partners, you do put them at a risk. I argue if you are a paying patron at that gym, you might be getting limited on what you're paying for. So it is a consideration. Yeah, do whatever the hell you want. I just feel like the one thing I want people to take away from this is don't show up so smug like you have fixed jiu-jitsu by just charging people to show up. Yes, not everybody has to pay at open mats. Some people do that policy and they reap the benefits of having incredible people drop in who are not only notable individuals, but really, really solid jiu-jitsu people. And if they offer to pay you, then you tend to know that person's a top quality human being. So I just want to make sure that we have addressed that. I got one last thing that I wanted to bring up here for Tim before we get him on out of here. Tim, we're going to advance the board one more time, and it is to address the following people. I'm sure it's hard to see, but look at all the people in that photo. Okay.
Let's see who we got.
Now I'm going to blow it up here for the entire shot in the frame. But there is apparently an organization called Hype Brazil. And these are all the individuals involved in that card. Just initial thoughts from the people you see in this poster, Tim.
Well, this is like you collected the 6 craziest freaking members of your family, and you decide who hate each other, by the way, and you decided you're going to invite them all to brunch together and have them sit across the table and debate religion and sex. Like what they're asking for, a serious incident to pop off there. You may as well just give them sticks and let them beat the crap out of each other. That's what they want to do. That's wild. That is a wild card. That's irresponsible. I feel like somebody should step in, to be honest with you. I feel like we might see a tweet on Truth Social about this. I am stopping this. This somebody's going to die. I don't know. That's a pretty wild card though, man. Like, that's intense. Those are some intense dudes.
So I kind of get the majority of the participants, but can I just say nobody is out there clamoring to see Jorge Masvidal grapple. Like, that's the one guy in that whole series of guys. I mean, look at the photo again and tell me who's the odd person out.
Yeah, it's Jorge. He's not looking to grapple, though. He's looking to hit somebody.
No, he's looking to 3-piece And, I get it. It's just when people put these things together, it tells me you have too much disposable cash to be like, hey, Jorge Masvidal, noted grappler, would you like to come do this event? It's like, no, just give me your money. I will better invest it. I've got 3 Home Depot UFC BJJ guys I could pick up in an hour and literally get you a much better presentation. Tim, I know you have to get out of here, so I'm going to let you go ahead and plug your stuff, sir. So go ahead, tell the people where they can find you, sir.
Hey, you can find me at Inside BJJ. You can find me here every Wednesday during PGF season with RAF. We will be doing the pre-show, and you could also find us on Fridays. If you're out in Nashville, come see me at 10th Planet Nashville. And if you're out in California, in the Northern California area, go see my homies at 10th Planet Stockton. RAF, I'm sorry I got to run, but it was a great week for grappling. You killed it. I loved your post-fight interviews. I thought you did fantastic. If you haven't seen Sean Mellinson in the post-fight for PGF Week 1, you need to go watch that interview. You're going to learn a lot about him. He seems like a really cool dude, and he crushed it. So, and when did Cam Hurd become an outlaw biker?
Hold on. You said outlaw biker. When you were going to go away, I was going to play a game of matching up some elements. I'm voting for later day Macho Man.
Okay.
Not outlaw biker. Like, there was an era where Macho Man just always had like a cap and like the beard was like dyed extra black.
Yeah.
There was a certain moment where Cam put that on and he was asking me, he's like, should I come in with the glasses or should glasses go off? And I go, no, come in with no glasses, put them on mid-interview. And he goes,
that's why you're the man, Rav.
I mean, that's why I'm a producer. Anyway, Tim,
Thanks,
go
partner.
enjoy yourself tonight, man. I'll talk with you in a little bit. But hey, the rest of you, don't go anywhere. I'm still doing a show. Just doing these parts solo, so don't leave. All right, let's go back. I'm going to review here on the UFC BJJ board. Let me walk you through what I have gathered on this information because it's a little silly. I'm not quite sure what to make of all of this, but Claudia went on, I guess, some podcast and started going into more of the compensation route for UFC BJJ. Now, it's been a major source of debate and discussion here. And if you do the translation to what she was saying at Brazilian currency to our currency, I think she was quoting that the biggest stars can make anywhere from $97,000 to $150K, which is good money. That's great. That's in favor of doing a big kid job elsewhere and making a decent living. Though in this day and age, still tough to make it in that world. So this is with the assumption you have 4 matches per year. Okay, but you don't see the same people on every single card. But let's go through that. The idea is you would likely get 12,000 implied if you're a top star per show, and that the submission win bonus might be somewhere in the neighborhood of maybe double or half that. So on the high end per match, if you're able to do that base and get the submission win, you're looking at what? Maybe almost 25K per athlete per match. That's better than a lot of organizations, so we can't disagree with that. On the higher end, almost 40K. That's pretty good. But they mentioned that was only for really 10 people. So I guess the real consideration we have to ask ourselves here is, what are those people who are not those 10 people making? Because really, it's cool to hear the top 1% and what they're making, but maybe we should inform the individuals who are leading the debate, and the cause here is to say, maybe give us an average or a mean of what top to bottom make. I don't think you're going to get that number because I think that number would lower quite significantly. It also tells us a few things. That even at shows like the, what do we want to say? The Craig Jones Invitational, where you were getting like 10K and it's a one-off appearance on that. We're getting into the place where maybe people are making more money, and I think that is good. I do wonder, even for that top 1%, what they would get for, say, a Who's Number One. But by and large, the reason why you won't see movement on this issue is if your top stars, especially like in MMA, they just don't form a union. And if you don't form a union, you can't push a collective bargaining agreement like you would in, say, the NFL or the NBA, where they lock out and say, we're not going to perform. Instead, in more of a MMA, and specifically the UFC, it's kind of with that element of, well, if I'm making good money, that's on y'all. The dream can happen for you guys. Good luck with that. So I think that's what we're going to continue seeing in this world. I think we're going to continue seeing a decent amount doing well. And for those not making that kind of money, the potential to one day make that money is exactly what they will be arguing as the highest earning potential. But the reality is there's only so many people who do that. So food for thought as we continue to move this forward, especially if we start talking about exclusivity. And I think maybe they're even insinuating that maybe it's only their top stars that they're investing in that will really have that exclusivity. I wonder if that is actually part of the language. But them saying that we want to make sure that they're exclusive to just the UFC, maybe, but I would love to hear a compensation value and an analysis on that a little bit later. Okay, let's just very quickly, while we're on the topic, talk about the other thing that seemed to be very quickly brought up in that interview. And it's the fact that it looks like the individuals for the UFC BJJ may also start helping out with instructionals. It looks like UFC BJJ wants to get involved in the world of instructionals. And there's really only one big organization. BJJ Fanatics has a huge market share of the instructional market. Now, something like a Submeta has proven to be quite successful. Those of you who are older might even remember Budo Videos having an online distribution, but a lot of these guys have gone to Patreon or other avenues to find a market where they can get directly to the consumer. That's pretty big with the UFC. If you put the footage of them winning their matches with them doing instructionals, or what might be previewed here is maybe even doing seminars under the UFC BJJ banner. I think that could be a very interesting way to get your fighters more money. So we're still in this uncertain market because it does open up another opportunity for these athletes, but not one that we have seen steady enough to say, oh, that looks safe, you know? I feel like we're all everybody's parents here being like, are you sure? Because it seems like a risk. Risk analysis, be damned. But we thought we would put that here for topic of discussion that we will likely come back to. While we have you guys, I'm going to actually bring it back up to the PGF. So even though Tim is gone, I'm going to walk you guys through some of my favorite clips that I have seen on the the PGF World website. We'll do this this match again, or this brawl. I'll do an analysis of that a little bit later. But what I want to do right now is bring back on this and walk you guys through what I was saying a little bit earlier. Now, in this particular scene, I'm going to go through some of the clips that we had. You'll notice it was a very impactful day. But I want to take you, I think, to one of the first clips that kind of caught us all by surprise. So let's first bring out Brett Moyer. Earlier in the day, looked like he was in on a crazy series of finishes, but he had a tough match against Jake Strauss. And here you could see that in this match, there was good back and forth all around. Jake Strauss, an incredibly gifted grappler, looked incredibly technically sound throughout the day, had some big moments himself, and perhaps the best back take of any of the event so far. So that was a lot of fun to watch. So that was one of the very first ones. This was the one that kind of set us all off. So Cam Hurd has always been known in the PGF world as a durable highlight machine, as somebody who has given you great moments in major competitions. he was going up against a runner-up in the world of the PGF in one Derek Rayfield. And in this particular match, I wasn't expecting him to get an A block finish on Derek Rayfield. This is, of course, shortly after he had hit one of the sweetest duck unders. That was one of the first moments that got the whole crowd to their feet. So we were instituting on that day the end of calling Cam Hurd the stopper, and we are in the process of trying to figure out a better nickname for him given his new status. This was also a pretty pivotal moment. You had the number one pick from the Philly Phenoms getting submitted by Jet Thompson representing the Kings. A big criticism of last year was that Jet Thompson just couldn't find the points. He couldn't find the submissions. And yet this was a return to form. This was definitely him performing at what we know he's capable of. But Andrew is a very tough kid. Getting a submission finish over the showcase star from the Philly Phenoms made a huge statement for Jet Thompson. So that was an incredible way to start the day. Of course, Sean over here was in a very interesting match against Austin. You know, Austin was previewing a submission that I think he was having later success with, but notice Sean sees this timing and gets this belly down footlock on Austin, catching him by surprise. Now backstage, they had nothing but compliments to say to one another. Very, very respectful of each other's game. And right off the bat, Austin was attacking Sean's leg in a way that had me concerned. Legitimately, I was watching that between those two gentlemen and thinking like, oh man, I don't know. Sean's a big boy, but that's a pretty tough lock. And Sean later told me behind the scenes, he was like, yeah, man, it was a really solid entry. So respect to Austin for trying to get this footlock. It will come back into play, but Sean read this incredibly well, spaced out the leg, and then as he was going to belly down, just put a little bit of extra heat on it and ended up getting the tap. In this particular case, Jared Fichetti is also somebody who found success very early on in the day against Noah McCauley, and just really look at all the way. This is very much a bear trying to find their edge. And I mean, he was putting him under pressure for a little bit, but that was a big statement from Jared, looking incredibly solid at the very beginning of the day. Now, we said, pay attention to the entry from Austin in that first match. He didn't get this far with Sean, but he looked like he was trying to set it up, but found success against Travis Haven, and nothing but respect between these two warriors. But this was an interesting one for a few reasons. One, Travis went for a lot of money. Austin went for a slight amount more. So Austin ended up kind of confirming his number one draft status pick in this moment. But look at this closely, people, because both of these guys are gamers. This might not be the only time we see this match. This could definitely play implications in the later days if things continue to go on. Now, of course, throughout the day, there were a lot of big moments, but Chewy might have been the standout performer of the day. Look at this heel hook. Look at how happy he is. His crowd went insane. And Anthony Parker Salisbury, obviously disappointed he got caught there. But I can tell you this, Anthony Parker Salisbury has an incredible history of catching people. He has worked his way through the trials in his own right. So maybe not the strongest start for him, but we're going to see how he continues to play. A lot of things that you have to consider is this is day one. So you are neither as good or as bad as you may be in your head. You just really have to be consistent, because one week you start off a certain way and the next week you come back very, very strong. And as Derek Rodman Rayfield put it, he goes, I started off with no points in week one. Sounds familiar. So it seems like everybody's already plotting their next part. Now, looking at how the day played a little bit later for Jared, he found himself in a very tough strangle against Jake Strauss, who brought the Alabama members of the Twisters to the feet, the owners, the Nasty Nine, getting up and giving him some props. But look, that arm all the way through, sneaks it underneath, catches Jared by surprise. And yet, for a guy who's nicknamed the Darce Daddy, he has the limbs and the wherewithal to know how to get you some extra points. And Darces are a premium in this world. So if you can get those kills, those chokes, I think you might be seeing somebody who also might have been undervalued. So if Jay can kick that up on a good, consistent rate throughout the week, you might be looking at a player here. We'll see how that goes. This is one of my favorite moments of the whole weekend. This is my highlight. The good folks over at Clear Life have an incredible truck. They told me all about it. They said that they put this together in just 2 weeks' time. The bulk of it was really built out from Friday on, spending 14-hour days getting this dialed in. And so I want to give a big shout out to them. This truck looked amazing. They gave me a whole rundown of how it looked like. They gave me a little bit of a tour at some point. And I was just in awe, just the great work that they've been doing. And they are a welcome addition to all of us working at the PGF. So major shout outs to them. Then, of course, there was Andrew Cockle, who found some success against Jonathan Wilson. And listen, Officer Grimy taking an L here. And then I'm not sure if it was this match or later on, but had to kind of pull out for his last match. But nonetheless, this is kind of where you have to be mentally. Like, you might have a bad round and you just have to stay in the course and like return fire, and you might redeem your day. Those are big points to get up there for his team. And it was super cool to see Andrew Cockle doing an incredible return to form here. Speaking of this, you see the match between Noah McCauley and Brett Moyer. It was a leg lock shootout here. And Brett really wanted to try and make a huge statement, but Noah got the better of him in this exchange. Noah, again, you have a rough start to your day, but you stay the course, you find your points. This was a major moment for the Philly Phenoms as they were starting to rally, and just an incredible patience here. You know, you could almost see the foot slipping, but Noah does an incredible job of reinforcing the grips to make sure that he's not going to lose it. Because look, that first clip you see is him losing the leg, and he is laser focused on that. Once he crosses over from the inside out, he looks like he loses it. And here's the tough part. When you have a leg lock like that and the leg starts coming out, it almost turns more into a heel hook. So I think that was an impressive amount of heart and display by Noah McCauley. So shout out to him. And not to be outdone, Derek Rayfield was trying to get it done against another incredible leg locker in Kevin Buring. And I was told that there might have been some words gone back and forth. The weird part is I didn't see it. From this clip, it looked like they were super happy, but I do want to see that a little bit later. To his credit, though, Derek Rodman Rayfield was trying to put it on him and gets a verbal tap here from Kevin Buring, who wastes zero amount of seconds. I think that is one thing that you have to admire about Derek, is that even though he didn't necessarily get points on the board on this particular day, he did an incredible job of pushing the action. So you want to give credit to these guys when they're putting it all out there. And I really think a rough start for Derek this week, but maybe things will change. I guess it's going to look at next week when we go into our preview of who's going up against who. So pay attention to that. Now, here's an incredible moment. I did enjoy this match because you saw Anthony Parker Salisbury trying to put it on Kyle Chambers, who is an incredible leg locker. And Chambers was scouting this out. He was really, really looking for a moment to shine. And when you get that Kyle Chambers on the scene, you get somebody who can not only counter, but this slicer is just nasty work. It's a great counter move. And it's one that you need to have in your arsenal if you are a leg locker, or, you know, you have people who, you know, they want to get some shine by taking you out. Just a beautifully executed return to form for him. So congratulations. I think this is the secondary angle on that one, but the secondary angle only makes it look all the more impressive because just like leg spaghetti, you do see Kyle Chambers just stay in the course. And shout out to PJ. PJ was taking some abuse that night. PJ is one of our refs, throwing his body Like he's trying to protect Whitney Houston. It was a lot to watch. I saw a lot of people get pushed into the sides, and PJ did an excellent job. So shout out to him for that. And then, of course, the end of the night was really dictated. You know, if slices were on the mind, both arm and hand were attempted to be broken here. And Brett Moyer stayed the course, getting this heel hook finish against Jared Fichetti, and just incredible moments. This is the thing I don't know. So we had talked with Brett about him doing some celebrations. So obviously the technique to finish this, incredibly flawless. Looks great. This heel hook finish, Money gets the tap right here. It's the part when he does the celebration dance that I was unclear of what the intentions were. So was he seasoning something as a cook? Was he Salt Bae? You guys tell me. So here we go. We're going to look at this footage. He gets up. There's seasoning. I think he was cooking and then puts one up to the sky. So we've talked with Brett about this. He says that he doesn't necessarily audition these things, but if we were playing charades, I don't know that I would have gotten the clue. It was close. I saw this. So maybe he was making eggs and then salt and then +1 for life or to my gotch up above. So maybe we should audition these. Practice them in the shower, I guess is what I'm saying. So really, my friends, those were some of the biggest highlights, but this was the one that brought the crowd to their feet with just seconds to go before the match is there. And I mean, it was just in the nick of time. Chewy got it done. The crowd came alive. It was insane. Now, I want you to look over here. Sam actually takes a glance at the clock to see how many seconds he has to endure. And he's probably thinking, like, maybe I can tough this one out. But Chewy just stays on it so aggressively, gets the submission and the points for his team. Chewy put up a good amount of points. And I had said if he just keeps these big prominent players from scoring points, he would have justified his $1,000. Not only did he do that, but he also put, I believe it was 9 points on the board. I'm going to say it. Chewy was the MVP for the Kings. He was the unexpected draw and a crowd favorite, got points on the board, and put in some incredibly pivotal moments. So big shout out to him and his family. And I want to point this out. I have a lot of respect for Josh Squires. Joshua gets called up after John Wilson has to go out. And they say, all right, are you going in? And he's like, yeah, I'm going in. Well, you go in against a returning PGF champion in Jet Thompson. Not the easiest round to have, but I had a lot of respect for Josh getting in there. And, you know, it's not an easy world, man. If sometimes you feel like you get your one shot and that's it. But I feel like we're going to find out a lot in the coming days on if Officer Grimy is able to return. Now, I know him fairly well in terms of what his philosophy is. If he can come back, he's coming back. And I have a feeling he's going to try to come back. I hope him and the team have a speedy recovery. But if so, and we don't see him go any further on that day next week, I would like to see Josh Squires get some moments to get his get backs on some of these guys. Super nice guy. And him and Clay Weimer were actually over on the side, just being our streaming crew, and we're broadcasting all day, putting in the work. So shout out to both of those guys. But yeah, I mean, this was Highlight Central. Chewy had a very solid back and forth match against Kyle Chambers, who he's had matches with, but look how crazy this went into the couches. Like, Kyle looked like he might become one with this. And these were the top takedowns of the day, but look at this duck under here. Cam Hurd just getting the crowd so on their feet. That was really the first moment that it did feel like PGF all over again. Like, all of us in the crowd, all of us on the outside were just in awe of this match. Derek got one back But that was kind of the beginning of the end, unfortunately for him, as that opened up the leg lock game for him. Beautiful duck under here by Caleb as well. And shout out for Caleb. Caleb literally got some of the nastiest cut moments. Again, this was another angle of the Chewy match, and just seeing the whole crowd come together and love him was so great. The Kings by far had the biggest crowd of that day, and they brought so many fans and friends. They have a great ecosystem. Not surprising here for the premier, the very first franchise in jiu-jitsu history. So shout out to them. Shout out to TJ, BMAC, Anik. Love seeing those guys. Just an incredible day all around. So we had a lot of our friends doing some great stuff, and you can see these different angles on this. And of course, if you guys haven't seen these highlights, or you haven't seen this incredible back take from Jake Strauss, you do have to make your way to watching the PGF with us, preferably live, every Wednesday, starting at 4 p.m. They have all the matches, but before then, you're going to watch the pre-show with yours truly and Tim Freeman, and then after all 30 matches, stay with us because we're going to do interviews with those guys who have just gotten off the mats so that we can ask them how you do that, because that's a crazy amount of work to me. This was Caleb Crump earlier in the day, and just the cut on his head. They had to Frankenstein him, and he returned in a freaking barn burner with Cam Hurd, as only you would expect from these two gents. I mean, they're putting it in fast forward. I think they're just missing the Benny Hill music on that one. But, oh, look, it's your boy. I'm on there too. Let's look at this handsome devil. This dude looks good. That shirt tie is popping. Looked really good. Actually, I should stop it here because I want to show you guys something and give you a little bit of behind the scenes of something that, like, it didn't fully throw me off, but it did present a little bit of a problem. So I'm going to put this photo up and you'll kind of see what happened. But at one point during the broadcast, I just looked out and I recognized they turned on the lights. Now, my settings on my cameras all have a certain aperture, all have a certain white balance. So when the lights go from, say, a warm yellowish to just fluorescent light blue, it made everything look like this. So I had to deal with everything on set looking like this. And the whole time I'm doing the post show and trying to clean things up and we're about to get things done here, is I recognized, like, damn, it's not like they did me dirty, but what does this look like? And so I spent a good portion of my time on the set trying to figure out, like, what does it look like I'm a part of here? So I'm going to ask you guys, do you have any feel of what this might look like? Because to me, it felt more in tune like I was part of Dr. Freeze's lair in Batman and Robin. So this is kind of what it looked like to me. And I was literally looking over, waiting for someone to ice skate and hit with puns. Nice to see you. Yes, very nice. Oh, cool party, chill. Like, that's what I was expecting, as that bluish light hit me very harshly. So if you see our clips make it out into the world and they look a little underbalanced, one might say, at least you know why. And it wasn't my fault. And listen, guys, they want to go home. I totally get it. It's a long night there. But yeah, I definitely felt like I was in Dr. Freeze's lair. We're going to go back to the RAF, the Real American Freestyle Brawl here in a second. I'll give you my take on it. But there was also just one other thing. I want to see if I can pull this up in real time. It's kind of hard to do because I didn't get all the amount of time to go ahead and kind of preview this together. But let's head on over to Bullpen. If you guys haven't followed us, we'd love it if you guys could give us a follow on our Instagram page. That's me. That's Tim. Clearly you see us. So let's look over here at Cam Hurd. Okay. So Cam Hurd, I had made the claim that he looks like later day Macho Man, like ECW Macho Man. Black hoodie and beard. I'm curious if Beanie, if you ever saw Macho Man in that ECW era, like that 2000 era, yeah, I think that you feel like you might be seeing a Cam Hurd. Like, correct me if I'm wrong. Tell me if you feel any differently here. But in my opinion, we're pretty close. This isn't that bad. He has a little more style, and I'm so sorry, Cam, you can't pull off a Macho Man with the style. You can get style points for being who you are. It's just nobody's going to show that man up. So there be that. But I want you guys to take a look at this and tell me if I'm in the right realm when you juxtapose Cam Hurd with this. So watch this again. Let's look at it one more time. Like, you could kind of see it. I also said he might be a guitarist for ZZ Top, but I feel like this is in the wheelhouse. He's kind of in that Macho Man dyeing his hair, his facial hair, and, you know, getting the kids there. There's also one other one that we'll make early next week, but I will preview that it has to do with Coach Ricky Lindell. So we love, so don't take things offensively here, kids. You can't put up prompts like this. We'll kill the dinosaurs. The Ice Age. So stupid. All right, let's go to this Real American Freestyle brawl. And let's see if we can make sense of this. Probably can't, but is what it is. Nope, that was last week's. This is Real American Freestyle Wrestling. Well, this looks normal. Aggressive collar ties. The guy's going after it. We've seen this before. That's good. It's good action. Now there's a little bit of a poke. The referee says, hey, chill out here. Now, this looks normal. Can't quite make it out. And now the push happens. So as the push happens, we rain down on strikes. Now look at this ref. This is a ref who's not being paid enough money. He is essentially gritting the teeth, closing the eyes, and letting Jesus take the wheel here. He's hoping for the best. I do appreciate that they do have a team member trying to essentially break things up for a second. But now, instead of letting anybody else enter, they're acting more as a defensive lineman. So they're making sure that nobody can enter the brawl section. This, I know some of you were asking for like Benny Hill music. I feel like this is the 60s Batman where you get that swinging music that's like da 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 da. Like, that's what I'm saying here. Let's break this down a little bit more. Okay, this dude in the white, he is a favorite of mine because the way he spins around, watch him do an aggressive spin all the way around before trying to decide which way to go. So now this has gone into two different sections and everybody's trying to figure out what they want to do. And then over here, the gentleman in the green literally does nothing. He gets told, he comes down, he tricks it out, but he wants a low center of gravity so that maybe he can enter the brawl on his own terms. That's a lot of doing nothing there, so congrats to him on that. My favorite are the people who do this in a fall, like a brawl, that are always like, hold. Hey, daddy, chill. Daddy, chill. Or they feel like Chris Pratt talking to dinosaurs in Jurassic Park, like, okay, we move on. David Letterman's father seems like he's there too. And what I do love about this is after they've cleared both benches here, they've essentially calmed things down. So everybody's been reasoned with. And guys, I'm not going to get into a fight. I'm not. Leave me alone. I'm going to push you around. This lady's trying to tell them, like, don't get into any further scuffles here. So green shirt's like, hey, let me bang, bro. Now, I think the weirdest part about this is if you're security in this situation Are you just scared for your life? Because there are so many fighters and good wrestlers involved in this brawl. All you're hoping for is that you just tackle them and keep them from making worse mistakes. But look at this form that happens here. These shots, they're a little rough because I don't know how much they're actually connecting. They're just a little off, one might say. Behind the ear, not quite around the head, not even clocking. He reaches back to try and clock another hit. And yeah, I don't know what's happening here, but more different Clay Guido wrestle brand. He's trying to get something going, but he hasn't even taken off the glasses yet. And then is that Aljo that's there? I don't know. Somebody just peeked around still in a singlet. I think I have to say this, though. If you're going to get into a fight and you're still in a singlet, it does look kind of funny. Singlets are meant for the wrestling mats. Anytime you go off mats and you're getting into an actual fight, you have to be like, bro, you don't have any pants on. Why are we fighting? We're good here. And this is really the silliest part of the whole thing. You know, an event has gone haywire when Colby Covington is trying to be the source of peacemaking. Boof. That dude had to go outside of character. Now, whoever's in the hat, is that... Oh, I wonder if that's Cejudo's guy. Like, who's cutting a promo right as that's happening? At least get to the backstage. The brawl was still happening and you're trying to cut a promo. This is so dumb. Listen, I think this unfortunately will do bigger numbers for them now. I think this is a stupid situation that happens. I think it was even dumber that they were considering doing this under a submission rule set. Nobody wanted to see that. I'm glad that cooler heads prevailed and they were able to get this back on RAF. This is so weird. They have so much positive momentum going on as an organization. And I think this will actually help them in the long run. As silly as it is, I think that this will actually get people more hype about an event that had been doing some steady growth. But what it does suggest is, one, your security sucks. Two, maybe, just maybe, this might encourage other people to do the same because it doesn't look like anybody here is facing any real repercussions for it. It's not like an athletic commission that can really do anything on it, at least not that I'm aware of. That's probably why you do the event in Arizona. So I think there's a lot of big question marks about this. And yeah, I will say one thing that was nice was reading that the folks who run the organization, the co-founders, put out a statement saying, hey, this was dumb. We thought it was dumb too. But watch the rematch at RAF 7. So there be that. And I will say this, to their credit, we're not waiting like another 10 years to see this rematch. It's RAF 7. This was RAF 6. That's pretty good. I can commend them for that. Most of the times it feels like anything like this happens in like the UFC or another organization. We got to wait like 4 months to see a rematch. At least we're right back at it. So I don't know. You guys tell me if you enjoyed this. Do you like that drama? Do you enjoy this sort of spectacle? The only thing that really seemed to stick out to me is, listen, Eric Bischoff is one of the co-founders of this. And when people like to make fun of pro wrestling, they like to say it's too fantastical. It's silly. Why would anybody get into a brawl? And that would never really happen in real life. Well, tell me Eric Bischoff is executive producing something without telling me. Because I don't care how much you watch pro wrestling. If you're emulating it, you're not better than it. So this shot to me was the most absurd thing I've ever seen in my life. Like, dude, if you're actually hurt, great. But now you're showing us that you're hurt in a vehicle. I'm sorry. Heading to a medical center in an ambulance. Oh, God, this shit's so weird. I mean, I laughed pretty profusely when I saw this. This is Pro Wrestling 101. I don't know if you guys did either. All right. I think that takes us through the majority of the topics that we had for you guys. Let me just double back and make sure I didn't forget anything here. We did the tape study of all the matches. Loved that. And then we did the fight in the gallery. So yeah, that's pretty much going to do it for us, you guys. Few reminders. 1, like, comment, and subscribe wherever you're watching. If you've been watching this far and you haven't liked it, what's wrong with you? Why do you hate us? Love us. Give us a like, a comment, subscribe. If you're watching anywhere, we'd love it if you watch it on Kick. We're going to be doing some other exclusive stuff there that I'm very excited about. I'm going to actually render some of the interviews that I did on Wednesday for the post show. I'm going to put those up on Kick a little bit later. So super stoked for that. And then I think before I head out again, I'm probably going to do another broadcast on Kick. So lots of stuff coming up there. And we may even do some premieres or some marathon broadcasts of some of the interviews. We did about 10 interviews with people from the PGF in the past 4 months. So we definitely have been working our ass off here. So you can check out all my work again at Grappling Hour on YouTube. You can find it there. You can like, comment, subscribe there. You can join us on Patreon, patreon.com/Grappling Hour. If you want to be cool like Tim and wear one of those Grappling Hour t-shirts, check it out at rafesparza.com/merch. Really does mean a lot to me, you guys, but here's how it's going to go next week. So you're going to see me and Tim live together at the pre-show. So that means before the 4 p.m., let's say about 3:30-ish Pacific time. Look for me and Tim to walk you through all of the matches of the day. And we will be so happy to talk with you guys about what you can expect from next week. And I've already started looking at some of those matches, and I have some thoughts. And Tim was so on it on his predictions. I mean, I was too, but Tim crushed it in our Lock of the Week. So Lock of the Block is returning this Wednesday, 3:30 Pacific. And just to let you guys know, after you watch 30 matches in a row at the PGF, you're going to want to hang tight, stay with me for the post show. And on that post show, you will see interviews with the most notable athletes of that day. So we're very excited to bring those segments to you. Your boy live out in Vegas, Tim reporting from Nashville studio. We got a lot of stuff going on. So that's going to do it for us here at the Bullpen. My thanks to all of you for watching today. We hope you enjoyed this segment and this show. But until then, guys, it's been a great day for grappling. We'll see you back on the mats.